Today, in my ongoing series of videos, trying to learn something about bike friendliness from other cities all over the world, London. Hey everyone, I'm Tom and this is Shifter, a channel about urban cycling, bike commuting, and the ways we get around our cities. And for the last little while, whenever I've found myself in a new city, I've tried to make a video about bike friendliness. I really think there's something that every city can teach us. And I'm really excited to be doing the same thing here today in London in the United Kingdom. If you like this video, please consider subscribing, and if you really like it, maybe hit that super thanks button. But this is my first trip to London and I'm not here for long, so rather than a video about me floundering around on the wrong side of the road, I thought I'd enlist some help. And I was lucky enough to connect with Katie from the London Cycling Campaign.
Hi Tom. We campaign to make London a city where anyone would feel able to cycle.
And she's going to take me around today and show me some of the highlights, some of the things that she thinks London is doing well that could be applied to other cities. Let's get started. The first stop on her trip was what may be London's most well-known urban cycling feature. It's cycling superhighways. These have been built to connect people in the outer boroughs of London to the city centre. And Katie says the lanes have been built in ways that separate cars, bikes, and pedestrians and are really intended to move a lot of cyclists quickly.
The reason it was such a great lane for London is that the engineering all the way down here is really immaculate. So where you've got a junction, because it's a bi-directional cycle lane, you've got some quite complex junctions, but they've all been done really well with like little filtering lanes so you can get out of the way, you can rejoin the cycle lane, there's plenty of space and lots of signals to get you across safely. So the whole thing, all the details were really good.
Because of the quirks of London's municipal government, these superhighways were built by the city's Central Transportation Authority, which is called Transport for London. That means they were implemented by taking a broad look at the needs beyond the politics of the individual boroughs, something Katie says is key to their success.
And Transport for London is pretty progressive, so they put cycle lanes in like this because it's on a major desire line. The borough council of this area wasn't interested in cycle lanes at all, but we needed somewhere safe for people to go to get people swiftly from A to Z. And you can go from Parliament Square to the city in about 10 or 15 minutes.
One downside, these lanes are almost a victim of their own success. Katie says they've become so busy at rush hour that they can be a bit intimidating for less confident cyclists.
It's a highway, and on a rush hour, it's absolutely rammed. You know, you have people overtaking each other. It's very, very busy, and pedestrians find it quite hard to get across, actually.
That means these lanes may have to be looked at in the coming years to ensure they continue to succeed. Next, Katie showed me one of the protected cyclist intersections or junctions along this route. This is located in a busy tourist area just outside the Tower of London. And even just a few years ago, this area had almost no accommodation for people on bikes and was pretty dangerous for cyclists to navigate. But not anymore. This junction now has both lanes and traffic signals so both cyclists and motorists can get through safely.
It's made a massive difference because when you can get an easy cycle lane down a straight road and you come to a junction and you know this and it all falls apart and no one uses a cycle lane because each end is terrible. Great. So it's really important to get the junctions sorted.
We moved on to a new area and we saw something that Katie had high praise for. London's practice of implementing temporary lanes as a way of trying out a design and then tweaking it based on how it works in the real world and with feedback from actual humans.
Before this was here, there was nothing on this street. It was just a big old street for cars. This is a temporary cycle lane. It's been put in to trial what this is going to do to the street here. It's going to work. If it's not going to work, if people want changes or take it out entirely, there's a consultation going on right now. So it's almost like a pilot project. It's a way of trying something out, perfecting it before it becomes permanent. Exactly that.
Then, a block away from the temporary lane was another interesting idea I had never seen before called a cycle gate. As you can see here, a red light holds cyclists back while the cars proceed. But then the lights switch and cyclists are let through to the front of the line. This gives them a chance to get started through the intersection ahead of the cars.
That's gone red, and this in a minute is going to go green for us. And this means we are going to go into this box here, and this means we can choose which direction we're going to go in before all the cars get in the way. So we're going to move out of this junction before the traffic does. So we get to go round to the right, we're ahead of the cars here, and we get into our safe space before the traffic does. That's absolutely brilliant. I'm just going to signal to the left. We'll just follow.
Next, we headed out on what I thought would be a treat across the famous London Bridge. But even though this bridge inspired a nursery rhyme, it was no child's play to cross it. The bridge was really busy, especially with double-decker buses, and there was very little to help cyclists across, even though it's a busy and important route for cyclists and crosses the Thames River at a crucial point. But once we crossed, we came upon something very different. a series of quiet, low-traffic streets that have been set up to make it easier and safer for cyclists and pedestrians. These include accommodations to cross the busy roads, so they make for some really nice routes. I was really impressed.
The thing I love about these routes is that even compared to the bike lanes, people just chill out on these back streets. You know, there's no expectation of speed. You're just going around little corners. It's pretty, it's calming, and everyone just has a nice time.
It's just a completely different experience. I kind of hated moving on from these quiet routes because they were so nice to ride, but onward we went. Katie made another interesting point about how quickly London has adapted to cycling. Well, the city's been restricting motor vehicle use for some time. For example, London has had a congestion charge for people driving downtown for more than 20 years. The change towards cycling has really happened in the last 5 years, accelerated by COVID when people were avoiding public transportation, and the benefits of cycling, health, affordability, efficiency, and clean air, and all that good stuff were starting to be realized. And now the movement for better bike infrastructure is extending deeper into the outer boroughs.
London is a very busy city and it's very congested, and everybody is desperate to get people to stop people driving quite as much, particularly short distances, because central London is actually calming down now, but out in some of the outer boroughs, those centres are still very traffic heavy, they're dysfunctional. The streets aren't nice to spend time in because they're just very heavy with traffic. And while public transport is really good in London, it's nice to have the healthy option of moving as well. Okay, one final question for Katie before our time together is finished. So can we now call London a bike city? In places, I would say in places. We're getting there. It's been hard work, we are getting there. And it's taken some really brave politicians as well. There have been some politicians, they've had a lot of opposition and some really nasty opposition, and they've just stuck to their guns and they have really changed their areas. All right, thanks Katie. Thanks Tom. That was great. So I'd say London is not quite a bike city just yet, but it's made great strides over the last couple of years, and it's certainly getting there. It's already better than most North American cities, but maybe not quite on par with the great cycling cities of Europe and Asia. For one thing, the city is just so busy that car traffic tends to move pretty slowly in these real urban areas. And that's a good thing because I found overall the bike infrastructure a little piecemeal and a little inconsistent, I guess I could say. There was definitely some gaps in the network. I did sort of lose my bike lane at some points. It just disappeared on me. And there are lots of different types of infrastructure, and without having some experience, and developing a mental map, I did struggle a little bit in some places. But in the areas where the bike infrastructure is complete, it was fantastic. There are lots of great separated safe bike lanes. That bicycle superhighway that Katie showed me is just fantastic. And it struck me too that even though London is not a bike city, maybe it doesn't have to be. It's already a great pedestrian and transit city. And London never made the mistake that so many North American cities did in turning too much space over to automobiles. So a little bit of investment in cycling would be a great sort of third or middle distance option, which is hugely important in cities like this. So overall, I think London's got a lot to teach other cities, especially the value of quick investments. I think since COVID came down, a lot of bike lanes have been built. There's been a lot of investment in cycling, and it's paying off. There's a lot of cyclists here. It's a great way of getting around. I've really enjoyed it. And we all know, of course, the future of cities is transit, cycling, and pedestrianism. So I feel like London is on its way. Thanks again to Katie, and let me know what you think of these videos. Do you like seeing what's happening in other cities? Do you find it useful in your own cycling life? Let me know in the comments below, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.